Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Casual KO here on Dangerous World Podcast. Trying something new here, wanted to try and get this onto YouTube, mess around a little bit and see what was going on. There's a lot of gambling shows out there, man, and a lot of UFC shows. And something kind of clicked with me this week is how misinformed some of these shows are and how bad some of them are. Not all of them, but half the shows I was listening to didn't understand that this card was not in Mexico. Okay, this is in Las Vegas for UFC Noche. Literally half of them were like, "Oh, this is great. It's good. It's in Mexico City," and I'm thinking, dude, okay, that's bad. First of all, and then a lot of other people were also not understanding why Alex Reyes had been out for 6 years, and they were just saying, "Man, I don't understand why the UFC's kept him around. It's crazy that this guy just hasn't fought in 6 years," and no one mentioned the medical issues or anything. Like a couple people did, but something clicked, and I'm like, man, if we just put like a little tiny bit of effort into this, I think more and more people would listen to it. So want to get it on YouTube more, want to have some cool graphics and things like that. This is the first iteration. There's going to be a lot more to come. I'd like to actually do 2 slides for each fight, but for right now, last minute kind of thrown together shit, but I think that you guys will enjoy it if you are watching here on YouTube. This will be available on the Dangerous World podcast feed as well. But yeah, man, we did last week. We had a good time. Some pretty solid, like I don't know. I think we had a good betting night overall, but some of the Australians really pissed me off. You know what I mean? Like we talked about this and we were talking over Instagram and it was rough, dude. There was some that really came through and then some really didn't. Tai Tuivasa in particular really kind of let both of us down. But yeah, man, I don't want to ramble on too long before I bring you in here, dude. What's going on with you and what you think about UFC 293?
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it. Man, the main event, like let's just talk about it right now. Like Big Stricko, he's the king of the world.
I loved
Um,
it, man.
in terms of betting, I kind of did a hedging strategy just for that. Just we're just talking about the main event. So I kind of like I sold out. I really feel like I sold out because I went like 70% of my money on Izzy for the
Mm,
KO, and I
didn't
hedged
put a
with
dollar on him.
Strickland. Well, I hedged with Strickland, so I kind of broke even. But yeah, I still felt just like a big sellout, like because I like obviously like we both know what I wanted to happen, what we both wanted to happen, and it happened.
Yeah.
Um, so that was great. So I was really happy that that happened. But I was just like, man, I would feel so much better if I like really backed my guy going into this as well. Um, but yeah, man, it was incredible. Strickland just did the things that he does. Um, and I really like I don't want to feel like I'm talking like out of turn here or jumping on any bandwagons, but I really do feel like it did expose a lot of holes that Izzy actually does have. The fact that he's like 80% of his style really is predicated on like countering mistakes,
Mhm.
um, not fighting off the back foot, um,
I think the
leg
biggest
kicks.
hole
Like,
in Izzy's game, man, not to cut you off, is his mental. I think he's very weak mentally. I think that's the problem. He has this
Sean,
main character complex.
yeah, definitely. I've heard other people refer to that, and Sean definitely got in his head.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny hearing all the excuses people are making now for like Israel when it's like literally like leading up to the fight, it was like, oh, Strickland can't even look in Izzy's eyes. He's shook, and then when he's walking out, it's like, oh, he's so scared. He's so worried. Look at him. Um, and basically all the things that they were using for Sean, they now are using for Israel. Like they're saying, oh, maybe Israel was too active. Well, in the last like 14 months, I'm pretty sure Sean's had two more fights than Israel.
Yeah.
He did a turnaround December to January fight. He was the last fight of the year and the first fight of the year.
Yep.
Like there is no excuses. They're
I
like,
think he
oh,
had
he
four
didn't look the
fights.
same.
Yeah.
And he didn't look the same after the first round. He looked normal in the first round until he got knocked down and hit with 20 unanswered hits in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I just feel like people aren't giving Sean his respect, man. Like he just went out there and fought the way he always fights. but it was the perfect counter to Izzy's style. All Sean had to do was not make a mistake, and he didn't make that mistake, and it worked. Like it was just so cool to watch. And now we have this un-PC, say whatever's in his head, crazy, come from nothing dude as a champion, and it's just like so fucking cool to see, man. I'm
It was
literally
dope.
like really happy for Sean. I'm so happy for him. It's deserved. Like, good on him. I hope he gets a couple $1 million now. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah, and I really hope that they don't give Izzy that immediate rematch. It's stupid if they do. It would be good for Sean if they did, because the pay-per-view points would probably be pretty great there. But you could also do obviously DDP, Robert Whitaker, Hamzat, Paulo Costa, whoever ends up winning that match. There's a lot that can happen there for him. But yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. You know, I'm super happy. For people out there that don't know, Nick and I do this betting thing where it's a friendly bet type situation where we're using fake money. We also bet with our actual dollars. We're using fake money. We're betting each other using fake $100 units. And so we're not just, when we throw picks out there, they're not bullshit picks. We both put money, our hypothetical dollars, on Sean Strickland because there's no point in betting anyone that is at $650, six minus 650, I should say. There's no point in doing something like that, right? If you're only doing money lines. So we actually both did bet Sean Strickland, but admittedly, we both were like, yeah, it's realistically, Sean's not going to win, but he ended up doing it, man. And he looked great doing it. It wasn't the sexiest fight in the world. There was nothing flashy going on, but that's how Sean fights, man. It's literally a sparring match every time he goes out. And yeah, man, he's a lot smarter. He's I think, a lot more of a better person than he leads on. And yeah, dude, I'm right there with you, man. I'm really happy for him. I think that, like he said, it brings some excitement and some pride back to the middleweight division. If Alex Pereira was still the champion, it'd be the same. No one, Israel Adesanya's fans are kids. You know what I mean? They're little kids. There's no
I will
adults.
say, just to interrupt, like I was a massive Izzy fan. I really was like leading up to the championship, even when he beat Rob. As an Aussie, I was an Izzy fan. I was happy that he beat Rob. That was exciting for me. And even Costa fight, wanted Izzy to win. Romero fight is where I started to get a little bit started to get, and then sort of after there is where I started to fight by fight, press conference by press conference, start to not be as much of a fan. And then by the point we hit this fight is when I was kind of where you're at, where you kind of like despise Izzy. I think you appreciate some of his fighting styles. Like he definitely has some skill, but like as a person and stuff, you don't like him. And
The
that's kind of where
Cannonier
I was
fight
at.
is where I was fully out after that Cannonier fight. That's where
Yeah.
so I was 50-50. Like, I was never like, oh, dude, I love Izzy. I've never put a dollar on him betting. So I've never really liked him. I've always thought that he was kind of the most overrated one. I don't like him or Usman. I always was whatever about Ngannou, just talking about those African champs, but there's an arrogance to them, man. Not because they're black, you know what I mean? Like, I love Jamal Hill. And he, like, as far as we're talking about, like, if we're talking about African American champions, black champions, whatever, I didn't really have anything against Aljo either. But there's an arrogance to those like Nigerians, and then where Cameroon, right? I think is where Francis is from. I don't know what it is, man. For some reason, they rub me the wrong way. I know you feel similar to Usman. It's not a racial thing, but I think it's a cultural thing more than anything. And Israel Adesanya is like the least black fighter on the freaking roster, dude. The dude's like Chinese, like freaking Strickland said, man. So I'm honestly happy. I couldn't be happier, man. We could talk about that all night. I don't know if there's anything that you want to mention from 293 before we move into UFC Noche. Nice little
The
Mexican
tie
card here.
the tie fight think did go how I thought. Like if Volkov was going to win, that's kind of how I did think he was going to win. I thought there was a small chance maybe he could go to a decision, but I was like, ultimately, I think, like I was tossing up with how long Ty went with Garn, and I was like, but yeah, I just thought the reach was ultimately going to be like that. I hope that everything that I had that it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, unfortunately it did. So I got pretty fucked up. But I
Yeah, dude,
mean,
look bad.
look, I mean, it's hard for a guy that's, Ty's, I don't think Ty's that tall. I think he's maybe 6 foot, 6'1", going up against like Volkov, who's like 6'7" and knows how to use that reach. Yeah, it was a hard task. So that was unfortunate. What else was there? I don't think there
Hoffa
was
was able to pull
really
it
too
off
much
against
else.
Lane, though. Similar kind
Yeah,
of height
yeah,
difference, but Lane
yeah,
just
yep.
sucks. So
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of agree. I think that he was really scared. I mean, scared's probably the wrong word.
he looks scared, man.
He respected Taffa more than he should have if he wanted to get the win. You have to respect Taffa. He's got like that Mark Hunt Samoan power. Although he's not very athletic or anything, he's got that power. But if you want to beat him, you kind of need to throw that respect out the window and get on top of him. And he didn't do that, and he paid for it. So
Got to poke him in
I
the
will
eye.
say the Pedro knockout was pretty nice. That was a pretty fucking nice knockout.
It was good. That busted my I had so another thing that I wanted to mention is that we're doing the Eiffel Tower. I call it the Eiffel Tower, you're going to call it the ladder. And you're starting your first leg this week. I started my Eiffel Tower last week. Which is where, some people do it with different amounts of money. Do it. I encourage people to try this because it makes it like super fun. But you take, I took $40, turned that into 111 off a 4-leg parlay. And I had who the hell did I have? I can look it up right now. I had Carlos Oberg. I had the Pleasure Man, which that was or no, that was in my a secondary parlay. Let me look it up real quick. But yeah, mention what you were gonna say about these dudes real quick while I'm looking this up.
Yeah, no. So I started my ladder on the contender with 10, and I turned that into 25, and so now I've got 25 on a 3-leg this week on some sh reasonably short favorites, but like we said before, I wouldn't really like to throw any like -5 or 600s in, so I haven't done that. But 3 legs, I think it's uh well, $2.20 odds here. I don't know what that would be.
Okay.
So it's 25 into 60, I think. And then so yeah, basically as you were saying, it's a ladder challenge where you sort of set a goal for yourself. So my goal on the $25 parlay was to try and make 50. It turns out that my 3 legs equaled to 60, and then you sort of just set goals for yourself with an ultimate goal in however many weeks, whether it be 5, 6, 7 weeks. Obviously, you kind of pushing your luck if you want to go and try and do 20 weeks or something. I think my goal's 5 weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, you just kind of try and build it up, obviously, as you were saying. And
Yeah.
did you say that yours got busted on that?
No, so I had the 4-leg, like, and I'm posting these on Instagram too. It's Dangerous World Pod on Instagram is where I'm posting these. But I did Nazarat, I did Jamie Malarkey, which was a robbery, but I'll take a
Yeah,
win when I can
lucky.
take it. Yeah, I absolutely got lucky there. Carlos Oberg and then Manel Kopp.
All
Um,
right.
I
So it
knew
hit.
when I knew when Jamie Malarkey won that was basically in the bag. But I had also so that was 40 into 111 and 91 cents, and I did a 6-legger with an additional $40, which was Gabriel Miranda, who was my dog of the week. I love that dude. I really liked him here against Shane Young, who came in 4 pounds overweight, which is wild.
Mm,
Um,
I had that as well. I liked that. That was a good bet.
yeah, man. So I had a 6-legger, and Anton Turkali was the one that fucked that up for me. And I was talking so much shit on his Instagram right afterwards. But I had Gabriel Miranda, Nasrat Hakpras, Jamie Malarkey, Carlos Oberg, Anton Turkali, and Manel Kopp. That $40 would have turned into $490 had that hit. And if that motherfucker just went out there and showed like a shred of the confidence that he acts like he has, um, I think that he would have beat Tyson
And so
Pedro.
I messaged you, and I was actually on the other side of that and it was pretty good. So I had Tyson Pedro first round KO at yeah, like plus 800. And then I also had the Pedro KO at like plus 400, plus 500. I think it was somewhere around there. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that fight to see it get done so quick and so clean. Like it was an
Yeah.
actual nice knockout. Like, you know
Yeah, it
what I
was
mean?
great.
Like it wasn't just a filthy, Justin Tougher knockout or something, you know? It was like clean, technical, patient. It was nice. I was impressed.
Yep. It was definitely a big bust for me. Now, I'm going to get into my parlay and you can mention yours as we go through the fights. But I say we move into this because we got a lot of ground to cover here. And I'm sure that we're going to talk back and forth about some of these. Card with big favorites and the questionable fights with not such big favorites have been juiced to the point where nothing's really playable right now. If you're unless you're taking an underdog. So you have to get on these early in the week. Even my parlay, it's at 165 plus 165. And now I think it's like almost at even money. So if I were to cancel it out and try and like, if I got some cold feet or whatever, and then I ended up trying to decide, I would lose tons of money, or leave some money on the table rather. But we got UFC Noche. This is in Las Vegas. This is not in Mexico, like a lot of people have thought for some reason. And you've got the first ever Mexican champion, Alexa Grasso, taking on just like one of the most dominant females of all time, Valentina Shevchenko, in the main event. And then for some reason, the most Mexican fight on the card is the co-main. You got a black dude and a white Australian dude fighting. So there's not a single Mexican on the. It's the weirdest thing to have. But nonetheless, it should be a really good fight. I'm excited for that one. But let's move into it, dude. Let's get into this first fight of the night here. We
Yeah,
got
man.
a quite a boring fight, in my opinion. This is one of the worst ones. Now, I've got some numbers up here for people that are watching on YouTube here. Basically, strikes, the striking differentials, accuracy percentages, defensive percentages, takedown accuracy, takedown defense. And then something that I added that I haven't seen anywhere else, I just kind of decided to throw this in there, is their average UFC fight time.
That's a
Um,
that's a reasonable stat. That's useful. That's pretty fucking useful.
I think so too, man. Something that I just kind of thought of. I was drinking last night, believe it or not, and I was like, "Is there something that we can throw in here that no one else has?" And it's going to come into effect with more fighters. I mean, Tracy Cortez and Jasmine Jasudavicius, they both fight, 15 minutes every single time in the UFC. But there's some where you'll really notice a big difference here. But yeah, the first fight of the night, guys. Josephine Knudsen versus Marnik Mann. Strange way that this whole thing came about. Several fights fall through, and Nick, I know you got Tapology up there. I don't know if you're seeing any kind of opponents that pop out to either one of these. I mean, obviously, Josephine Knudsen not getting her deal in the Contender Series, not getting her contract, but still, man, I think she's a dominant fighter in general. I mean, really, really similar records here: 6-0 versus 6-1, and I think the competition levels are vastly different. I think Marnik Mann, they call her the sawed-off savage. She's like 5'2". Um,
She's not even that. She's like probably 4'11.
That's what I think, dude. I think that they say that she's 5'2", but when we see these two face off, because Josephine Knudsen, if I'm not mistaken, is 5'3". And again, I want to add more stats onto this, but there's more than an inch difference between these two ladies when they face off tomorrow. Um,
Tapology has Manik at 5 foot, and I think
okay.
she's a tad shorter than that.
Okay. Yeah, she's
So
like
that,
probably technically a midget, not to be offensive
yeah,
or
that
whatever,
would
but
that would put her in the fours at least.
yeah, dude. So, I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Josephine Knudsen, a massive favorite. But I am going to be going with Josephine Knudsen as far as a pick. But if I was going to play this at all, I would do Josephine Knudsen by knockout, or I would do Marnik Mann money line. But for the sake of our competition here, I'm doing Josephine Knudsen knockout, round 2, round 3, but I'll go round 2.
Yeah, I mean, for all the same reasons you said, I've got Josephine as well. Got her by decision, but I mean, with the height difference, the reach, and some of these stats that you've got pulled here without me having to go to the stat side of Tapology. I mean, you can see the strike absorbs per minute, the striking offense, the takedown accuracy, like it's just all heavily lopsided again, like towards Josephine. Um, Apart from accuracy, which I mean, with the strikes absorbed and the striking defense, I'd rather be at 45% than 55%.
Right.
So yeah, man, I think it's Josephine all day, and I do think the knockout is a possibility. I wasn't playing this fight at all originally, but now that you mention the knockout and I see these stats, 15 minutes is a long time, and yeah, I mean that might be something I sprinkle a little bit on.
Now, what's interesting too, man, is I mentioned the average UFC fight time. Marnik Mann, she's only had one fight in the Contender Series, and that 9 minutes and 33 seconds was a loss. So, going the distance in her Contender Series fight, Josephine Knudsen, right? This is one fight to one fight, but Josephine did win her decision. Marnik Mann got finished by Bruna Brazil, who's not anything special, right? She got fucking knocked out by my girl Denise Gomes real quick. So yeah, man, we're seeing eye to eye on this first one. Don't be surprised if you see a submission, though. I think that she gets a finish, honestly. I think that these women's fights tonight are going to be really good. So moving right along, and I'll let you talk this one out first. And sorry about this picture of Alex Reyes. It's very pixely, but this is what they gave me, dude. If you want to get a picture of him, it's going to be him with a t-shirt on or one of his social media pictures, but this is the official UFC picture right here. And I mean, it seems like the UFC just hates this dude. But give me your thoughts on Charlie Campbell versus Alex Reyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I watched a little bit of Charlie Campbell last night. I was pretty high. I was doing some tape study. I know Alex Reyes, I think, was out with like a spinal disease or spinal injury of some
E.
sort, something like
coli in the
that.
spine.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty mental. Yeah, and then I started to look like I knew that, and then I started to look at some of his last fights who they were. Mike Perry lost knockout, and then I started looking at some of his cancelled bouts because it seemed like he was trying to get back in while he was still injured, and then obviously that sort of got put a halt to. Um, but yeah, ultimately, I'm on the side of Charlie Campbell. He's in my ladder parlay. I think just everything tells me, I mean, we've seen it before with people like Dominic Cruz and stuff, big injuries, a lot of time out, and they come back and they shine and they're great. Um, but I would just tend to, I mean, using that same logic, Alex's last fight lost to Mike Perry by knockout, and then 5 years off with, a lot of injury. It's not like he's like 5 years off training in the gym with some ninjas learning some new shit or something. It's probably like 3 years of like, well, a year of operation time, like
Right.
a year of recovery time, a year of actually getting back to where he was, and then what, another like year of then trying to learn things. I really think it would be silly to put your money or your pick on Alex Reyes. But
Yeah.
that's just my opinion. I think everything just tells you that he's probably not going to do well. It seems like it almost might be something in his mind that I mean, I saw an article about him. It was an interview that with someone uh, it was an interview with someone and they were just sort of doing a write-up, and it was basically him saying, like, looking back on his career and sort of being like, oh, where I could be and where I'm supposed to be if I didn't, have that injury and stuff. So I feel like this is almost just like a bucket list thing for him. He's
Mm.
like, I just want to go back, have a fight, prove to myself that I can still do it. I
Or a contract obligation, I think, is really what it is. This was one of the things that, like I said, it kind of got me into it gave me the motivation to actually like try a little bit with this show rather than just doing it how we were doing it. Is that so many people just don't even know why Alex Reyes was gone, dude. Like the fact that you even knew that he had a medical issue is more than what most people know. A lot of people out there just think that this dude took a 6 year break for whatever reason because he wanted to sharpen his skills or whatever. And that's why a lot of people are saying this is a wild card fight. To me, this is not a wild card fight, dude. And like you, I have him in my second. This will be my second week with my Eiffel Tower betting thing, and I've got $111 and change on this, and this is the first leg of this, Charlie Campbell, and I think that he can get the knockout in round one, dude. You're looking at these stats here, and these are both just one fight each. Alex Reyes had one against Mike Perry, got fucked up quick in 1 minute and 19 seconds, as you can see. And Charlie Campbell gets, a minute and 43 seconds, but he was beating the shit out of Chris Duncan in his Contender Series fight. I don't understand how Chris Duncan was able to come back and just basically landed one clean punch and dropped Charlie Campbell, and that was that. But yeah, dude, I think Charlie Campbell's the real deal. He's training out of Longo and Weidman.
And Chris Duncan's not a terrible loss. Chris
No, he's
Duncan's
great.
pretty good. So like that was one thing I noticed that he did lose in the Contender by a knockout, but I saw who it was from and I was like, well, there's probably a lot of other guys that would have that same thing happen to him. So,
Right.
this
And
this guy looks good outside of that. So
definitely. You see the numbers here, 7'2", 13'3", less experience for Charlie Campbell. He's also quite a bit younger. Again, I want to add these stats in, but I don't know if you have those handy right off the top. The age difference, I think, is 30 to 36 or something like that. For Charlie being the 30-year-old.
he's
But
28. So I mean, those 2 years probably do make a difference
oh,
as
28
well.
to 36. So yeah,
Yeah,
Alex
yeah.
Reyes is 36, Charlie Campbell's 28. And one thing I was going to mention before we move on and before I hear your final pick, um, they were trying to match Alex Reyes up with Trevor Peek back in February. They want Trevor Peek to win. Trevor Peek has a fan-friendly style. They kind of fucked up when they matched him up with Chepe, and then they wanted to get one back on Chepe against Jack Jenkins. And I bet on Chepe both. Not the first time. I bet on Chepe against Jack Jenkins, because I think that Jack Jenkins had some karma coming back to him for that robbery against Emmers, and it did end up happening. He worse than I would have hoped for. He, ended up breaking his freaking arm or dislocating his elbow or something. But then they also matched up Reyes with Natan Levy. That's who he was supposed to fight this fight. The UFC loves Natan Levy, and there might be some weird thing going on because Natan Levy has a really, really nasty blood infection, like almost like life-threatening type shit.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting that Alex Reyes coming off this nasty thing that he had, and now his opponent had something crazy going on health wise. There's some weird health things with this whole card. You get into Tracy Cortez, who I believe is next. But yeah, dude, let me hear your pick. The reason that I bring those up is because I think that they're trying to kind of feed Alex Reyes to somebody. But what's your? I know you said Campbell, but method round. What do you got?
Yeah, I just went Campbell KO round two. Um, I think I'm just gonna have a quick look here to see if it was what I thought. Yeah, no, I think that I did the typical round two because I wasn't sure if it was, it's hard to know how this race, like chin, everything wise, he might be able to take a punch. I just, it's been so long. He's been injured. I don't know how that affects everything. So I went round two, but I do think it's going to be I don't think it's going to a decision. I think Charlie Campbell's going to finish this guy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going KO round two.
36 years old at lightweight is rough against a 28-year-old who, you know, per minute, he's landing almost 10 strikes in his Contender Series fight. Absorbing 8, yeah, 8.7, but still. Moving right along here, we got my girl, Tracy Cortez, Tracy Cortez fighting Jasmine Jazadovicius. This is an interesting grappling fight right here, right? Tracy Cortez been off for over a year. She was supposed to fight Amanda Hebos, ended up pulling out of that fight late, like at the weigh-in, with some kind of health issue. And then her and Brian Ortega break up shortly after that. It's tough to really speculate on what happened with Tracy there, but I don't know, man. She's such a dominant wrestler. She's the only girl that's ever beat Erin Blanchfield. Now, whether she actually beat her or not, that's kind of up for debate. A lot of people think that Erin won rounds 1 and 3. But yeah, dude, I think Tracy's dominant, man. Really, really good wrestler. Striking's bad. She is going against a great wrestler in Jasmine Jasudavicius. I like fading Canada, but it's tough here. It's really tough here. I bet on Jasmine her last fight in Canada, and she did Canada proud there. And we have some numbers to work with here. This isn't just one fight each for each one of these girls. And that's kind of how it is going up the card, but they both go to decision every single time they fight. Couple split decisions. Um, the big thing for me that kind of separates them, I mean, like if you look at this whole thing, they're really even all the way around. Their takedown defense, their takedown accuracy, everything is so close. But to me, it just seems like Tracy has the slight edge in most things, right? The striking accuracy, the striking defense, the takedown accuracy, the takedown defense she's deficient in slightly. I think she's the younger girl, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But I gotta lean with Tracy Cortez, and I'm going unanimous decision. This is a Mexico card. I think Jasmine has to put on a clinic and absolutely dominate if she wants to win with all the Mexican fans just like roaring for this Mexican chick here, man. So yeah, give me Tracy Cortez.
Yeah. Tracy's 29, Jasmine's 34. I tend to agree with pretty much everything you said. I think Jasmine's got pretty good takedown defense. And that's what worries me a little bit in the fight because I think she's also maybe slightly a little bit more technical on the feet.
Yeah.
Um, and that could be like the edge that just gets her over the line by decision. I am going with Cortez by decision as well,
Okay.
assuming that she can sort of actually get her to the ground because I'm thinking of a close fight and sort of what would win in the eyes of the judges in a close fight. And I was like, as I said, kind of agreeing with everything you're saying. So I was like, what would be the slight edge that gives Cortez my pick? And it was sub attempts.
That ass.
Um, yeah, that as well. Do you see her modeling the new gear the other day? She was like doing a
Dude,
little
yeah.
model thing for the people.
I think she's the most attractive girl in the UFC, man. No disrespect, but she's
Yeah,
very
she's
fucking
definitely
hot.
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think when it comes to the slight edges, it's just sub attempts. If she actually gets it down, she can probably put a bit more pressure on there and just sort of get control with some sloppy ground and pound. Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if this goes either way. I don't think I've got either of these girls in any of my parlays or anything. It's just it,
Okay.
it could just go either way. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if a knockout happens, put it that way. Would be slightly surprised if either one of them subs each other. I think it's more likely that Cortez subs just the Vicious, but I don't think that's happening. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way.
Yeah, Tracy's been working with the fight ready people a lot and getting some good looks over there. And before you take the thunder away from it, I'm gonna put an extra unit on Tracy. I don't know if you were planning on doing that yourself, but I just wanted to get ahead of that because this is one of the only closely lined fights, dude. You know what I mean? Like this is one of the only closely lined fights. I'm not very confident in it, but I'm absolutely putting an extra unit there.
Okay.
So you got
Yeah,
Cortez. You're going decision.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Agree. I'd love to see it finish though. I took that one. You take this one, man.
Yeah. I think I watched. No, I didn't watch, but I remember Chariz's last fight with
Edgar Chairez
Tatsuro.
versus Daniel Lacerda, right? So we got these two
Yeah,
dudes.
yeah. And he took Tatsuro to a decision, man. And that was in his debut, which that's pretty fucking good. I seem to remember he was pretty reasonable everywhere. I think he rocked Tatsuro a few times.
Dropped him.
Um, yeah, there you go. And then on the other side, you've got Lacerda. Yeah, he's at the point where it's like if he loses this, he's out of the UFC basically. And
I
usually
don't think so.
that can make. I mean, 4 fights scared. It's pretty bad.
They give
Um,
4 fight contracts from what I understand, and this is his fifth UFC fight.
okay, but I know they also give 6 fights for starters as well.
Okay,
So
we'll
I
see.
mean, 10 and 10 on 6 fights is most of the time what they'll hand out, which is fucking trash. But yeah. Um, yeah, man, I know that can make it the demon come out of a dude and all that, but I've got Ed Cachares in my ladder parlay. I'm pretty confident that he's gonna knock Daniel Lacerda out. Um, Daniel's last four losses, he's been finished. It's not a good look. His last two, he was KO'd on the ground. Um, Edgar's more than capable of getting dudes on the ground and ground and pounding them out. He's good at knocking people to the ground and then doing so. Yeah, I think he's going to probably get a ground and pound KO in round two.
Interesting. Yeah, man. No, I like where your head's at there. You're not
We'll,
worried
we'll put
about
an
the
extra unit on it too.
okay. I think that I like where your head's at. I think that the odds are pretty big, but might as well if you're confident. You're not concerned with Shirez's kind of slow startedness against such a fire starter like Daniel Lacerda because he hangs back. Like the first minute or two of a fight, he will wait and he'll try to counter strike. And that's when Daniel Lacerda, I mean, Daniel Lacerda is literally probably the best flyweight for the first 2 minutes of the fight. And that's the kind of the part of the fight that Edgar Chairez kind of takes off. You're not worried about that?
I mean, it's not something that I identified myself, but going back through Edgar's record, this is a pretty like nitpicky stat that I'm going to pull, but just going off any time he has lost, it's always been a lot later in the fight. Um, that means fuck all. But yeah,
Well,
I mean,
against him, that's an accurate, like that's something to bring up for sure.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I mean, you look at the average fight time of Daniel Cerda, 4 minutes 91. Um, I don't know. Is he all losses in the UFC?
Yeah, he's 0-4 in the UFC. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that is all lost time. Yeah, man, look, it's something I'll look at, but I'm already pretty confident with Shares. Um it's definitely just off of it's the same as when people do good against like a Basharat or
Right, right.
Makayev or something like that for me. It stands out. Um so yeah, I just think it's the skill's gonna win. The skill's gonna win out.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that striking differential for Lacerda too, throwing 5.7 or I'm sorry, 4.75 out and absorbing
Yeah.
9.76. I mean, the dude is getting hit a lot more. Um,
They both don't have great striking defense either.
no, no, neither one does. And then I do want to point out too before we get to it, I was doing this card backwards earlier, or when I threw these together. So the strikes absorbed in the later fights, it says strikes defended, and then I realized that I was like, oh fuck, I gotta change this, and then but I didn't go back through and edit all of them. So defended or absorbed will change to defended in a little bit here, but I hate to go against you because you're building this ladder here, man. But I am going to pick Lacerda here.
Yeah.
And the
I thought that
reason
was the way you were going, by the way you were talking.
yeah, man. And I when I saw you sent that, I was like, fuck, dude. Like, I don't want to say it because I hope that I hope honestly, dude, I really do hope that you hit that parlay and you can get that ladder going because it's fun. And then like, I want to see what you do next week and shit. But I am taking Lacerda because I think, and don't let me talk you out of it, obviously, but I think that his coaches have to sit down. He's fighting out of shoot box, right? Diego Lima's gym, if I'm not mistaken. He's with Charles and all these, great fighters out there. His cardio is just junk. He fights like all those other dudes. The other guys just have better cardio, and I don't know what it is. His cardio is not going to go. It's not going to get better in the 4 or 5 months since when he fought CJ Vergara, which I don't know if you remember that fight, but he had CJ Vergara running around that entire octagon. Like the
Mm.
dude probably ran a quarter mile in that octagon. And
It says
no,
he fights out of ATS team. I remember
okay.
seeing that because I thought the same when I was looking last night. I was like, isn't he a shooter box? And then I had a look at the gym and it said ATS team. I was like, oh, I guess he's not shooter box.
Okay, is that on Tapology there? They might have that right
Yeah.
for sure. I just saw a bunch of pictures with him and Charles and Diego and all those dudes. But so yeah, we'll say he's not at shooter box, but he fights like that style, right? He's got the bleach hair Brazilian, it's kind of that thing. But like I was saying, man, like I think your coaches have to sit you down and they have to say, dude, just fight the way that you fight for 8 minutes and then try to get to a decision. You know what I mean? Win round one, because I don't think he's ever lost round one if he doesn't get finished. You know what I mean? He always wins round one. Win round one, win round two, and then just survive round three. You know, I think that he can do it, man. And like I said, I don't want to, you know, change your mind or anything, but Edgar Chairez is good. I mean, he's freaking tough. He's got a chin. It's going to be really hard for Daniel Lacerda to finish him. But the reason why I am, again, going with him is because so many other referees would have ended that CJ Vergara fight 2 or 3 times. He knocked him down 5 times in that round, in round one. And a lot of other referees would finish that fight, but it was in CJ Vergara's hometown of Texas, somewhere in Texas, San Antonio. So they let him fight out, and good for him. I mean, good for that ref, good for CJ for pulling that off. But I think that any other circumstance, that fight gets finished, man. And I personally don't think that Edgar's as tough as CJ, but that's just my thought on this dude. So I'm going Daniel Lacerda. I'm not putting any extra units on it because, like you said, the dude just, you know, he's not good outside of round one, but I'm going with that round one knockout. I think that he can get that done probably even like first couple minutes, man. This might be a crazy quick flyweight under here, but yeah, Daniel Lacerda, round one KO, man. That's my thought. But I hope that you hit that, man. I'm not going to put too much money on that live. I don't have him in any parlays or nothing. So
No, I mean, like what is like, obviously, as I said, the slow starting of Edgar didn't stand out to me, but the fast starting of Daniel absolutely did. So I mean, it's something that I was aware of, and it's absolutely a possibility. He's done it 4 times before, and 4 times before it didn't work for him. So I just had to go off that.
You're not wrong, man. A lot of people are on that side, and I think it's probably the smarter side, but I just, you know, every once in a while you got a feeling about something. I had a feeling about Austin Lane last week, and that didn't look how that fucking worked out. So we'll see. You took that one, right? I will go with Roman Kopylov, dude. Roman Kopylov versus Josh Fremd. One of my least favorite fighters, man. I really am not a fan of Josh Fremd. And this is, you know, that typical grappler versus striker situation. Got a nice middleweight fight here. Some of the cleanest striking that I've ever seen from Roman Kopylov, and I was against him last time he fought. He fought Claudio Ribeiro, who I actually like.
It's funny you say that, because I was watching tape last night, watching him just going, fuck, this dude's got clean striking. And I'm like, doesn't Ryan hate this dude? I'm like, how can you fucking hate this dude? Look at his striking.
No, I don't hate. Are you talking about Roman Kopylov? I don't hate Roman at all. I hate
Yeah,
Josh.
no, well,
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, so yeah, I swore that you didn't like Roman, because I was sitting there watching him, like watching tape last night. I was like, man, how can you not like this dude? He's pretty sick. Like,
I might have talked some shit because I was on Ribeiro. I like Ribeiro. You know what I mean? Like, I actually like his style. A lot of people hate on him too, and I like him. I like how he does the hair shit. You know what I mean? That stuff's always fun, and he's a great striker too. But that clean head kick that Roman landed on him, I mean, you know, I was iffy on Roman. I was like, oh, dude, this dude, you know, if you pair him up against anyone that can grapple whatsoever, he's done, right? He's been improving his takedown defense. You look at it right here, 90% takedown defense for the kid, right? Which is better than Josh Fremd, who wants it to go to the ground, obviously. But his takedown accuracy is even better than the wrestling dude. So,
and Ribeiro tried a little bit, and to no success.
Right.
So
Ribeiro is a striker, or Ribeiro, we should say.
Yeah.
Right? He's a striker. Josh Fremd is a wrestler. His claim to fame is beating Cedric Dumas, who sucks. You know what I mean? Dude, I'm going Roman Kopylov all day. I'm going to go round 2 knockout. I wanted to do round 1, but Roman is in my Eiffel Tower. I'm calling it. I'm not calling it ladder. I'm trying to make my own thing here. He's in my second leg of the Eiffel Tower, along with Charlie Campbell there. So feeling strong about that, dude. I don't think that anyone could argue those 2 legs, but we'll see, man. It's a freaking fist fight. So I'm going round 2 knockout for Roman Kopylov. I think he just beats the shit out of this dude, man, who, you know, this guy, that performance against Jamie Pickett was piss poor. It was very recent too, which is strange. Obviously, Kopylov not fighting too long ago either, but Josh Frem seemed like it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same as you. I'm a couple of K around too. Watched some tape last night.
I
Typically
already had
always
you written down
finishes.
here too, by the way. I had
Yeah.
Kopylov under your shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's he sort of uses the first round to figure things out, and then usually by the second and third round, he's got it figured out, and he
Yeah.
connects. I think Frem's reasonably tough, um, but I don't think he's tough enough to last 15 minutes with Roman Kopylov. Yeah, I think Roman's going to use the first round. He's probably going to piece him up. He might drop him, um, but he's patient, and yeah, I think he's going to get the knockout in round two. And I'm pretty keen for this fight.
Yeah.
'Cause I like to see Roman striking.
And
It's
dude,
different. It's not like normal sort of kickboxing. He's like what do they call it? Um, a master of Russian hand-to-hand combat or something. He was on like the
okay.
Russian hand-to-hand combat team for 4 years, like
Dude, he's
their
been
world.
spending time with the Dagestanis too. He's been up there messing with those guys, learning wrestling.
Yeah, and
So,
he's pretty tall as well. They have him listed as another thing I noticed is they've got him listed at 6 foot. And he fought Ribeiro. Ribeiro's 6'2", and Kopylov was taller than him. Because what I noticed in this fight is, let me have a look here. Um, they have Josh Fremd listed at 6'4", and Kopylov at 6 foot. And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh wow, that's a big height difference. And so I started like thinking to myself, like, could that play a factor in it? Then when I went back and watched fights, I was like, let me see who Kopylov's tallest opponent was. And
mm,
it was Ribeiro, 6'2". I watched that fight, and Kopylov looks like 2 inches taller than him.
yeah, they're gonna face up nice, I bet.
Yeah, so I feel like Kopylov's at least 6'3". So I feel like that height difference that's showing on Tapology isn't actually real. I feel like
Okay.
it's one of those weird things where they just get it wrong, or the UFC's been told the wrong thing or whatever. But yeah, Kopilov's a lot taller than 6 foot.
Right. Now, dude, this is what's really weird to me about this. And like I mentioned, I have him. Do you have him in your ladder?
No, but I
Okay.
will use him in some parlays, and I
Okay.
will probably bet on him for the KO.
Yeah, I'm mind blown. You don't have him in your ladder because I know you like this guy like more than I do, even. But yeah, dude, what's interesting to me is that Josephine Knudsen is minus 750 again, untested prospect against an untested prospect. Alex Reyes and Charlie Campbell. Charlie Campbell's minus 500. Okay. Edgar Chairez minus 265. Lupe Godin is minus 480. Roman Kopylov is only minus 325. And you look at these numbers that I have here, kind of like those more like practical things, like the percentages, the striking differentials, every single thing, including fight time, is in favor of Roman Kopylov. It seems like a no-brainer here, but he's like one of the like least favorites on the card. That's weird to me.
It could just be people not realizing, bookies don't. It's a tough thing with odds because they don't always reflect everything. You know,
Right.
I think we're seeing that Sean Strickland's one of the most popular fighters in the UFC. His interviews are getting like 5 times the amount that Sean O'Malley's get. He's getting like 3 times the amount Israel Adesanya gets,
Yeah.
but he was still a massive underdog. I know a shitload of people that still bet on him. So I don't think that always reflects things exactly.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I think maybe sometimes it just comes down to people not knowing things, or like even for me earlier in the week um, when I put that sort of ladder bet on, I hadn't fully done my tape study for the week. I hadn't fully looked into everything. But for me, I'd looked into enough for the 3 fights I had chosen to choose them. Um, yeah, obviously, if I was doing it today, I definitely would have Roman in it as well. But
Well,
yeah,
your odds would have been
goes.
blown out, dude. Like you had to do this early. I don't know if I mentioned it. I know I mentioned if I was to cancel it now and then try and like get back into it, I'd lose some money. But dude, I did it on Monday. I set the same fucking parlay up, and like an idiot, I canceled it because I was watching some breakdowns of that some other people had and a couple tapes and stuff. And I kind of got like some cold feet, and I was like, all right, let me try and figure something better out. And it was 185. And then I literally just went back to do it later Monday. Now it's at 165.
Hmm.
So, you know what, like now, like I said, I think it's even money if I was to cancel out. So I'm leaving it because, I'm confident in it. Like, it's just nuts, man. Like the lines on this moved like crazy. And I've never really seen a UFC card look like this. It looks like a Bellator card, dude. Like there's
Hmm.
only two fights that are plus minus 100 and change.
I
Every
mean,
single thing is two
that
or,
is
or
another
more.
reason. Well, that is another reason why I did sort of like, and have done in the past, will jump the gun on some bets, is because it might be a Sunday after the fights have happened, and I'll sort of look towards next week's card with, maybe some winnings. And before I've had the chance to kind of get into the research, I might see a fight that I know a reasonable amount about and kind of see favorable odds and just attack them there and then.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, usually later on in the week, if it was a good choice, they'll get juiced right down. Um, but if it was a bad choice, I'll see it float up. But I've also, I think, I can't remember who it was, but a few weeks ago, I took someone at a favorite, and then they ballooned to an underdog and they still won. And I was kind of
Mm,
like, oh, well, shit, I could have just waited and got him
that
at like
sucks.
really good odds. It still
Yeah.
would have paid off. But yeah, so it can go either way. Um, I think there was someone in the contender series that I got at dog odds that ended up a big favorite and won. So, it
Oh,
also can work that way.
dude, I made $200 in the contender series this last week. I parlayed all five fights, but I missed the last fight. But I canceled that because I parlayed Malik Lewis with like the heavyweight fight, like the co-main, if you want to call it that. And so
Hmm.
I missed out on that. But I called two methods and rounds, and I cashed out the 4 leg thing. Like I canceled it out. So like you put $10 in and it goes up to 45 or whatever instead of 80. So I ended up making like $200 on this contender series. Lost all the other ones, like didn't make shit on the other ones, but had a good contender series week. And to my point of what I was saying, dude, only the Cortez Jazdavicius fight, the Holland Della Maddalena fight, and then the Grasso Shevchenko fight are within anything that's under plus minus 200. So everything else is over 200. Zell Huber is the next closest thing. Padilla, Nelson. I mean, most of these fights are chalky if you want to pick any kind of favorite, but it's wild. It's a weird card, dude. So a lot of parlays are going to be going on, and there's going to be parlay busters, man. There's going to be people that should win that don't. So it's a tough card to fucking pick, man. Um, I talked myself into doing Kopilov plus 2 units, so I'm doing a three total units on Kopilov here. So I've got 3 units on the board so far. But this is yours to lead. You said Kopilov round 2 KO?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Lupe Godinez versus Elise Reed, man. This is a good fight. Shouldn't be a good fight, but it might be. And I want to hear what you got here.
I mean, it depends on what you think of a good fight. If you think of
Anticipation.
domination by Godinez, then yeah.
I
I
hope
mean,
so. If she fucking wrestles, dude.
at least Reed's takedown defense is not properly reflected with that 50%. It's absolutely piss poor.
I know.
Um,
She got submitted by Loma
my girl
Lugumi.
Loma, yeah. I
And
honestly, just straight and simple, Elise Reed's been finished too many times by like ground and pound and being mounted and all these sorts of things. I think Godinez is going to do the same thing and potentially get her first knockout in the UFC. Um, the odds are plus 500 on that. I
yeah.
think I might have already taken it, I'm not sure, but it's something I am going to be taking. Um, yeah, I honestly think that Loopy getting a KO in late round 2 or in round 3 is like not even a joke, is pretty real in this.
No.
That's where I'm sitting. Yeah, I've got Loopy KO round 3. Um, every
Okay.
like, yeah, I think that, like I said, the 50% defense, it just doesn't accurately reflect how bad her takedown defense actually is. Um, and a lot of the time she's been finished has been from like being mounted and being having her head punched in.
Right.
And that's Loopy's style. It's not even like it's something like, oh, this is something I can take advantage of. Let me change my game plan
Yeah, yeah.
to take, like, it's what she does. And now she's getting a girl that is like that's her weakness. So
Yeah, her
yeah,
jujitsu's not great, right? She's a wrestler, and apologies for not having the average UFC fight time. Godinez is like 15 or 14.9, and Elise Reed's is slightly shorter because she's getting finished. But yeah, dude, it's it, everything you're saying is true, dude. I don't understand how this fight was kind of put together. It seems like they're trying to give her a win because Lupi's obviously Mexican, and she is the third leg. I've got 4 legs in my Eiffel Tower. Lupi's the third in mine.
yeah, it's a good bet in my opinion. I think she's had some bumpy roads as of late, Loopy. She had that loss to Angela Hill, which is not a good loss. But then she's kind of got a decision split, then a decision unanimous. I almost feel like the UFC's kind of like, well, we don't really want Elise Reed, but we want Loopy. So here, Loopy, have a KO win.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, she beats her everywhere. Lupi beats her everywhere. Look at the striking differentials on these girls. I mean, Elise Reed's is not how you want it to be. It's backwards, right? Lupi's is not great. You take one, kind of give one, but it's still positive. Elise Reed's is negative, and I mean the takedown accuracy, dude. Elise Reed is not going to take down Loopy, and you make a good point there. All these stats are from UFCstats.com, right? So I'm not making this shit up, but I agree that 50% isn't really like it's not really giving you a good look at how she does things because when you see the 75 takedown accuracy for Elise Reed too, you think that she's a beast wrestler, right? But she's probably shot like only a couple takedowns, maybe 4 takedowns. She's gotten 3 of them in on all of her fights. I don't know the number specifically, but yeah, man. She's a kickboxer by trade, Elise Reed is, and not a good one, man. Not a good kickboxer. So yeah, dude, I got Loopy. I'm going decision, but I like your ballsy call there on the knockout round 3. I like that. I'd be much more entertaining. I might tell you on that, but my official pick will be Loopy by decision because I don't think she's finished anyone in the UFC. Um, but Elise Reed is not
I
very
think,
good.
yeah, I think this is super live. I really, really do. Or even, yeah, Loopy 2-3 bet. Or yeah, Loopy by KO. Just that plain and simple is like plus 500. So, but yeah, I think so much points to it in this. I really, really do.
I like it.
Sometimes I'll throw something out there like that as just sort of like a whimsical bet, but I think this one is legit.
I got one for you that might trip you up here in a little bit. But yeah, we'll move on. We agree. The method is slightly different. Some books offer that round 3 finish or decision. That's a great one. The odds usually aren't awesome on it. If you could get a round 2, round 3 knockout for Loopy, that'd be dope. For people out there with like FanDuel and stuff like that. But yeah, Loopy all day here, man. A lot of people are saying like they don't trust her, and she has talked about how she wants to get away from wrestling. That's such a stupid idea here, though. If she does that, it's literally. I mean, Loopy should be at Raul Rosas Jr. numbers here, -850. If we knew she was going to wrestle, you know what I mean?
Mm.
We just don't know for a fact because she's a little crazy Latina. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, moving on. Oh, we're in the main card now. See how I got the red outliner on these dudes now? Try to spice it up. This dude, Fernando Padilla, has the most Adam's apples out of anyone in the UFC. He's got 2. You see that?
Yeah,
Dude's got a neck like a giraffe, man. It's crazy.
twice the man.
He is twice the man. And Kyle Nelson, the only guy on the entire card with a draw that I found. So I had to make a little extra space for that one. But yeah, dude, Fernando Padilla versus Kyle Nelson. Similar records, but I think that the skill level is so much different. I think that they put Kyle Nelson up against Blake Builder because they wanted him to lose, but Blake Builder sucks ass. So he ended up losing to probably the worst Canadian on the roster, man. Like, and that's no shit talking to Kyle Nelson. He seems like a cool enough dude, but I think he's probably the worst Canadian on the roster. Other than maybe Hakeem Dawodu, because holy shit, he was really bad when he fought who the hell did he fight last time? Older guy, Cub Swanson. That was a bad performance for sure. But yeah, Fernando Padilla all day here, man. I'm not even gonna try and like talk all crazy. When you look at that 11 strikes landed per minute, he's only had one fight in the UFC and it went a minute and 47 seconds. So they extrapolate that out and he landed, almost 12 strikes in that amount of time. So they just say, okay, this is what his average strikes are. But that's absolutely not what it would be if he fought at any extended amount of time. But I think he gets a knockout here over Kyle Nelson, which is hard to do. But I think he does it like round 2, round 3, something like that. Not going to complicate it, but I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I watched tape on this dude last night. Majority of his knockouts are round 2, round 3. Um, Putting 2 extra units on Padilla.
Ooh.
He's in my ladder. Yeah, I think he's gonna piece this dude up and knock him out in the second round. I like this dude's style. He's so fucking tall for featherweight. He's 6'1" in featherweight. You
You
know,
sound
like
like you just came right there. You all right?
yeah, that's like how excited I am for this lanky dude to fight.
I mean, dudes,
But
that neck scares the shit out of me because this dude does like to grapple, and I feel like I could catch a hold of that dude's neck. But I agree with you. Like I'm betting, I was about to put an extra unit on him, but I'll let you take that.
yeah, I'm excited to see this guy fight because I think this is a nice little layup for him.
Yeah, man, they want these Mexicans to win, dude. Like, think about imagine if all these Mexicans lost or only 2 Mexicans won on Independence Day here for Mexico. And like, there's going to be a massive Mexican crowd. All these people are going to be going wild, dude. There's white people out here with fucking Mexican flags draped around them because everyone wants to support Mexico this week. You know what I'm making for food? I'm making tacos and enchiladas, dude. That's what I'm doing for my food. I make that half the time anyway. I'm gonna put an extra unit on Padilla. I won't do 2 because I want to save one for later. I've got 4 units on the board so far. You've got 3.
You can
Um,
do a Mexican parlay, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs,
I
and
think
it
one
pays out
Mexican
at
loses.
plus 1200. And I'm not including Reyes. I don't know if he's Mexican, but that sounds like a Mexican last name.
I think one Mexican has to lose. Although I said that about Canada too. You know what I didn't notice, dude? The strikes, you know how it says strikes defended. This is what I'm talking about. This is really strikes absorbed. Okay. Again, people watching. This is my first time doing this. Okay. It'll get better. But strikes absorbed 18.9. That's a lot, dude. That's of course over just a minute and almost 2 minutes. But that's a lot. I mean, that's an upside down striking
It
differential right
was
there.
also against it was also against Julian
Who
Arozo's
sucks?
high up and but high output as
Okay.
well.
You're
You know,
right.
and I watched that fight last night, so I do remember that fight. He pieced the dude up, man. It was an early stoppage too.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say. I mean, you could say early stoppage, but like he dropped the dude twice already, and like if the ref hadn't have stopped in, he would have got dropped a third time and then knocked out, basically. So it's like,
I'm
yeah, the
riding
ref
with you,
could have.
dude.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
it
riding
was
with you.
it's actually a pretty fun fight to watch, but it's over very quick.
I will be doing kind of a more wild parlay, and I'm down to kind of talk about it here towards the end too, or after we're done with all the excuse me. But I will be including Padilla in a parlay or two. And I might put him in my fantasy stuff. I've been doing fantasy. The only other guy that I mentioned that for sure should be in your fantasy is Charlie Campbell, who's pretty high price. And then Kopylov. I think that both those guys get finishes, but I think Padilla gets a finish here too, man. So I'm freaking out about his numbers a little bit, but this is a very, very limited sample size here. So don't listen to me. But let's move on, and this is yours. Daniel Zellhuber, the young kid, versus Christos Hiagos. And before you get into it, I hope you're not saying anything scary, because Daniel Zellhuber does close out my 4-leg parlay, turning $111 into 297 profit. So we're talking almost $400 on the table here. What do you think about Zellhuber versus Giagos?
I think it might just be a layup fight for him.
For
I
Zellhuber,
don't
right?
really, yeah, I
Okay,
don't really
good.
know too much about this Christos Diagos guy, and I didn't go back and watch tape really. Um,
Well,
so
you're
he
not
lost to
supposed to
Tiago
say that. You're
Moses.
supposed to say you know everything about this, and you're trying to give me confidence that my parlay is going to hit.
Well, hey, there's you can't get any more confidence than the UFC trying to set up a fight for you. It 95% of the time it goes in the way
That's
of the
true.
UFC wanting something, and I think they want Zell Huber to keep winning. So
He was on the
yeah,
panel. I don't know if you watched the panel of Mexican fighters. It was Grasso, Raul
I
Rosas.
didn't see it. No.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and they just kind of talk about all this shit. It's funny too because Valentina speaks Spanish because she lives in Peru. So Grasso and Valentina are both out there. It's funny, dude. And like they're all just like she's speaking Spanish and shit. But yeah, so he was on there. So he's one of the more like highly touted Mexican prospects out there. So I tend to agree. But holy shit, am I scared because people are talking about how Giagos is a live dog and all this shit. But yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, continue.
I don't know too much about Yago, so I can't really go that far. But I've honestly heard people going as far as to say, "Oh, Zolhy's going to get the KO that he wants, the KO that everyone's been thinking he can get." And I'm not going that far. I got Zolhy's decision. Um, I am a little bit shifty on it just because like of Zellhuber's frame and stuff. Like he's a pretty skinny young guy.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, apart from that, I think he's probably going to edge this out. Um, yeah, again, I don't know too much about Christos. Maybe he will. Maybe Daniel Zellhuber will get the knockout because it seems that Christos can be finished in multiple different ways. But I guess we'll see. I haven't got any big bets on Zellhuber or anything as of yet. I think I've got him in a parlay, which is just Daniel Zellhuber and fight to start round two. That's
okay.
one I do have, and that's yeah within just a bigger parlay that I have. But yeah, I don't have too much to say on this.
The strikes absorbed, or how I have it here, strikes defended per minute, is not 14, it is 4. I left out the 1 when I was changing it from the previous fight. But yeah, man. So again, like I said, these are gonna get better. This is the first one. But so I mean, look at the numbers here, knowing that the strikes absorbed per minute are 4.8 versus him landing 5.44. And you look at the low volume of Christos here. Um, I mean, I obviously Christos is a little more well-rounded, but Daniel Zellhuber has been training with, I forget who Brandon Moreno said, but it was a big wrestling dude. And he said Brandon Moreno, obviously, he's going to be going for all his Mexican brethren out there. They like to call it La Raza, the race. If white people said that they're backing their race, it would be very offensive, but Mexicans can get away with it. And yeah, dude, I mean, he's obviously, going to back his dude, but he's saying that Daniel Zellhuber is a lock, like Brandon Moreno is saying that. He wasn't saying that about anyone else. I'm sure they're friends and whatever, but knowing that and then just, disregarding that fucked up stat that I put up there. Um, Everything is in the favor. I mean, the takedown defense of 91%, dude. It's going to be hard, I think, for Giagos to get him down. And his gas tank runs out after about 5 to 7 minutes. Daniel Zellhuber usually goes long. So I think, even if Zellhuber loses round 1, it might even be a good chance to live bet Zellhuber. But yeah, dude, I'm all in on Zellhuber. And I tend to agree, but I do think that he gets a knockout round 2 or round 3.
Okay.
So you're going decision. I'm going knockout. This is yours here. Raul Rosas Jr., the most handsome man in the UFC here. Raul Rosas versus Terrence Mitchell, who is kind of sad, dude. I listening to that guy talk at the press conference, he seems like such a nice dude. I know he talked some shit to Kai Kara France, but Kai Kara France is a straight bitch, as Manel Kopp pointed out this weekend. But yeah, man, what do you think about this one?
I hadn't seen press conference or anything just yet, so I don't know about that. But yeah, look, I didn't go back and forward on a side on this, but I went back and forward on multiple different methods. Um, Ultimately, I think Raul gets it done. Obviously, UFC's trying to prop him up again after the last fight. Um, I kind of watched the Cameron Simon finish on Mitchell, and Terrence has good grappling. I don't think it's quite at the level of Raul. Obviously, Raul seems like he's just his whole life's been grappling and stuff. Um, I don't think that's the case with Terrence, but do you remember the Cameron Simon fight?
Yeah, it ended
He
really
sort of,
quick in round one. I think 2 minutes.
yeah, so Terrence went for the takedown straight away. Um, and
Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
kind of they scrambled for about a minute or so. Terrence ultimately sort of overpowered Cameron at times, and then Cameron kind of got him, yeah, in a position and ground and pounded him out. Um, and I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe Raul will be able to get him into the second. Like, well, I mean, maybe Terrence will be able to defend Raul until the second. But ultimately, just after everything I sort of looked up, my MMA math led me to just choosing Raul Rose's submission round one. I think I think Terrence stand up isn't that great. And I think usually he can rely on shooting and really overpowering and grappling a guy, especially with his length. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Um, but that it just made me think, well, he can't really do that, Raul. Yeah, Raul's got reasonable fundamental striking as well, and I'm pretty sure his grappling's better. So what does Terrence really have to fall back on? Um, and yeah, if a skinny kid like Cameron Simon can manhandle and ultimately, you know, get it over on Terrence by the end of the first, I think Raul's going to be able to do that as well. So yeah, sub one Raul Roses.
Okay. Yeah, both these guys have really bad striking differentials. Neither one of them lands a strike per minute, which is wild. This is going to be a grappling match, I think. I think Terrence could have something for him. Cameron Simon is so much better than Raul Rosas. I mean, like,
Grappling wise though, like
no,
purely
no,
grappling
not
wise.
grappling wise. No,
Okay.
not well. I don't know, dude. I mean, like,
That's yeah. I see. That's what I was kind of going back and forward on. Like, and I was kind of like that's why I kind of brought up like, Raul Rose is sort of doing it since a kid because I'm like, well, does that make a difference when you're only fucking 18? Like,
yeah.
you,
And
you
this,
know,
yeah, dude, that's the thing, man. Everyone's talking about how he's definitely going to be a champion someday. No, he's not necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, we can't say that yet. He's not good at the UFC level. He's just young. They put him against C Rod, who was a good fighter, but C Rod like made him look like shit, dude. Like, I don't understand how an 18-year-old gasses out that quick. You know what I mean? Um, I mean, you're supposed to have great cardio when you're that young, and he looked bad, dude. So um, Terrence Mitchell could pull it off, man. I mean, look at what happened last week with Sean Strickland and all that stuff. Am I betting him? Absolutely not. But I wouldn't mind, dude. And if Raul Rosas loses this, they need to get him out of the UFC and just say like, hey, like you can't sign anywhere else big. Like you can go and fight like LFA, but no one's gonna want to watch this kid fight if he loses to this because the narrative is already set that Terrence Mitchell sucks. And that's what's shitty is they're making fun of the dude because he fights at Alaska FC and all this stuff, which I know it's a whack promotion, but it's stupid all these people that talk shit about these guys are fat and couldn't throw a punch to save their life. So I don't know. It's shitty that they're setting this dude up two in a row to just get annihilated by prospects. But if Raul Rosas fucks up here or doesn't get a finish, if this dude gets a decision win over Terrence Mitchell, I don't want to hear anyone say that this dude's going to be a champ anytime soon because it's wild if this guy goes to decision. He should get a first round knockout or sub. That's what they
so
want here.
so if you wanted to bet the fight just to go to the second round, no winner, it is nearly plus 300. And if you wanted to bet the fight to hit the third round, it's nearly plus 500. If you wanted to
Okay.
bet the fight to go the distance, it's nearly plus 700. That was something that I noticed
That's
last night
stupid.
because when I was tossing and turning about, oh, would maybe Terrence maybe last till the second? I was like, well, let me have a look at will the fight hit the second? And I was like, nearly plus 300 just to hit the second round? And
Yeah.
then I was like, maybe just a sprinkle on the fight going to the second and a sprinkle on the fight going to the third. No winner is just worth a bet as well, you know?
That second round is absolutely because we don't know what the takedown defense is of Mitchell. He thought that he would have the grappling edge over Simon, right? Simon's kind of seems like one of these dudes that's like more of a stand-up guy, kind of like Dreykus, but a little more clean, if you want my honest opinion on that. Dreykus is just like I don't know, that dude's like into black magic or something. I said that MMA was rigged if he beat Robert Whitaker, and he actually made it look legit how he beat him. You know what I mean? So it's wild, but he's gonna go into this unless he's stupid. He's 33 years old. He's gonna know that Raul Rosas supposedly has the grappling edge over him. I haven't seen it. The only dude that he's ever beat quick is Jay Perrin at the UFC level. Jay Perrin, I don't think has a win in the UFC. I might be mistaken. That was another thing, man. A lot of people were thinking that this is Raul Rosas' UFC debut, and he's only fought in the Contender Series, and they have like thousands of views on their shows here on YouTube. So that's why I'm like, okay, we can do this, and it's gonna be, half the people don't even understand that this dude's already fought. Um, yeah,
Twice.
man. Terrence Mitchell should get in there and I think make it to round two. But I'm gonna go with the Rosas knockout, dude. I think that would actually be something good. And if they're setting him
People
up,
have
and if
said it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
If Terrence Mitchell is that bad, as bad as everyone makes him out to be, then Raul Rosas should knock him out. I think he's not that good at submissions, man. He's really not that good on the ground from what I've seen. Everyone talks about it, and that narrative's there. But the takedown accuracy is shit. Um, he's getting one out of every three. So we'll see, man. I think that this will be an interesting one, but I think that your money's safe with Raul Rosas. But I mean, I kind of want Terrence Mitchell to win, man. I'm not going to put too much money on Rosas, and I'm definitely not taking that shit money line. Biggest favorite on the card is an 18-year-old.
Yeah. No, I've heard some people say that the knockout could be live with Brawl, ground and pound situation. And you're basically just fading all the all the shit that everyone's just favoriting towards round
Yeah.
one sub. So it's just like, yeah, well, you just hit the KO and get plus 500. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of live. He's gotten KOs before, so why not just take a sprinkle on the like I said, like if you really don't want to like get just shitty odds and stuff, you just go sprinkle KO Roses, like yeah, sprinkle on Roses KO, and then maybe fight goes round two, fight goes round three, and yeah, that's kind of like some things that may happen, and you don't really have to pick a side for the latter two.
Yeah. Yeah, man. A knockout finish, I think, would be. How are you going to bet this?
Well, I am probably going to do the round two one at least. I think I
Starts
had a
round two,
look.
you're saying?
Yeah, I had
Okay.
a look at the sub, and it's minus money for Raul Roses by sub, so I have not bet that. I'm just looking right now. I don't have a bet on Raul at all right now. So
Me
yeah,
neither.
for me, it might just be that round two thing. No point betting the sub. Like I said, it's minus money. I'm not choosing a method at minus money. Not at that much minus money. Like it's not, sometimes you might get a Justin Tougher KO and it's like pretty close to even money, but it's
Right.
on the minus side. This is like steamed minus. Um, it's $1.55 for reference here in Australia, which is yeah, like $55 for every 100 you bet, which is crazy.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe a sprinkle on the knockout, maybe a sprinkle on fight hits round two. That's probably it for me. I won't choose a Terrence Mitchell side as a little sprinkle or anything. I don't think he's gonna win. My thing was, can he last? Basically, I think Raul's gonna win. My thing was just like, is Terrence gonna shut everyone up and ruin all those first round sub bets because maybe he might get finished in the second or third. And is
Yeah.
that something that you can maybe capitalize on because the odds are just so crazy for that to happen, So that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah. And I don't understand what's so exciting about, you know, being confident in the first round sub. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know that like a lot of people make their entire UFC career off of submissions, but
I guess it depends on the fighter. Like you're talking about Jalden Almeida. Love seeing him throw an up kick and choke out a heavyweight in 20 seconds. It's hilarious.
sure, but he's also like 50-50 knockout, 50-50 sub. Like you don't know how he's going to do it.
Mm,
If Raul
yeah,
just
that's true.
builds this narrative where he's just going out there and getting the first round sub if he's going to win, that's boring as shit, man. Like that's like Bo Nickel shit. Where like Bo Nickel, it's exciting to watch him fight, and he actually changed it up last time he got the knockout. But like how he choked out Jamie Pickett was so lame. Like it was like, dude, this is stupid. Like he just kind of fell on top of him after hitting him in the nuts, and then just laid there. And he's such a great wrestler that he can do that. Like it wasn't. It was such a boring fight. His last one was great, obviously against that short notice replacement, but I just don't like these matchups, man. It's like why ever should this dude? No one in the UFC should be a minus 850 favorite. I know he started out at like minus 500, but no one should be that, dude, unless it's like John Jones, someone proven, dude. Like no one should be at that. They need to make better matches. They're getting into this stuff where it's like they want to try and build narratives and build fan bases for people that might not organically get them. And I think that that's
Yeah,
just kind of setting people up for
MMA
failure.
Guru. MMA Guru's been talking about this lately, and that's why I've kind of become a bit more of a fan of MMA Guru because of what I've discovered with his content is he's all just about pointing out the hypocrisies regardless of the side. And he likes to nitpick at shit, like really find the details of the UFC and go hard at them. And yeah, he said he's actually bringing out a big video like this week or something. And he's been talking about
Yeah.
it and about how the UFC is rigging fights through,
Yeah.
for instance, the Toldricus thing. Let's line up a fight with Rob, and then the winner of that gets 2 months to fight Izzy, regardless of if they're injured, leaving Izzy with a better chance to win. The Aljamain thing. Let's stack multiple fights. Sean's in the like right after Aljo's fought Henry. Like, you better be ready to cut weight. You can't
Right.
tell me Sean didn't already know that fight was set up, and it was set up for a few months, like
Right.
two
Right.
months away, and he was going. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, the UFC's doing this sort of stuff, and it kind of goes into line with what you're saying, building stars and stuff, and setting up certain fights. And yeah, it annoys me. Did you watch Contender this week?
Yeah, dude. I just told you I made $200,
Oh
dude.
yeah, like those fights are the fights you want to see, where it's like
Yeah,
people
man.
just going all out, great fights. Like the Contender this week is probably the best episode of Contender ever. Like I'm not even shitting. Like
Oh
every
no, it was
fight
great,
was
dude.
wild, you
Bare
know.
knuckle fighting, honestly. Like I know I work for them and stuff. The matchmaking is getting so good there, dude. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like it's getting incredibly good. There's a lot of new talent. There's a lot of people that you can't really predict how it's going to go. And yeah, sometimes people go in there and get hit one time and then they drop down because it's their first fight and it's different getting hit without gloves, right? But the matchmaking is getting good. Like there's a lot more fights going like 2, 3, 4 rounds, and there's 5 rounds in every single bare knuckle fight, right? Like I
Yeah,
said, I do not touch it, but
unfortunately, I don't have access to any of that in Australia.
oh, that
I
sucks.
only I only get UFC Contender, some basic PFL sometimes, some basic Bellator. That's about where it stops. I don't even get LFA. I used to get the one of the Australian Eternal, where Steve Ersic and Jack Jenkins and Volk and all that came from. I used to get Eternal, but now I don't even get that for some
Uh,
reason. I don't understand why I can't bet on Australian MMA for some reason, but yeah.
That's whack, dude. But yeah, man, like I said, I want to make it really clear that I don't fucking touch those. I used to bet on them, and it's easy. It really is an easy thing. If you just do a little bit of research, you get into it. I think that's going to change, but for right now, it's easy. And then another channel that people should check out before we move on is Red Pill MMA. I don't know if you've checked him out, but he's dope. He's like an
I
Irish dude
I've
that
not looked at it, but it's funny because Chael mentioned him this week. So him and Chael go back and forth, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to check this dude out if Chael likes him.
I don't think that that Red Pill likes Chael. So it's
Well,
funny if Chael likes him.
Chael thinks it's hilarious. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Chael's a bitch, dude. Him and Ariel, man, like, see, that's the thing. I don't like those dudes. Like, they feed the whole system. They feed the
I love
whole
Chael.
thing. I don't, man. He was talking about near death experiences and didn't even know what the fuck they were. Like, he was totally saying like everything just out of his ass. And I feel like he does that with MMA too. Like, he just
He does
says,
that with every video, and
yeah,
he's
I don't
openly
like it.
said it. He's just trying to produce numerous little truckloads of content.
Well, and he's an older dude that does clickbait, and he'll do things like he'll title a video "Israel Adesanya sucks" with an exclamation point, and he'll be like, "Am I saying that Israel Adesanya sucks? No, you are." Like, it's like he's doing like Twilight Zone shit. It's whack, man.
Classic fucking Chael. That's why I
Clickbait,
love
dude.
him. That's why I love him,
I
dude.
can't stand him, man. It's that gatekeeping stuff. And same with John Anik, dude. John Anik, like the way he was looking at Israel Adesanya, it looked like he wanted to suck him off every time he was talking. And then he was like kind of shaking his head, like really subtly when Sean Strickland was talking during the press conference. And I actually commented and tagged John Anik, not that he's gonna see it or care, but it's like, dude, why do you look at Izzy like you want to suck him off every time? You know what I mean? It's just weird, dude. It's like I don't know. I don't understand that whole thing and the gatekeeping and like you said, the matchmaking. I've been checking out some MMA Guru more and more, and he's dope, dude. He's funny. I like watching his video breakdowns and stuff, but or like the predictions that he does because they're just kind of goofy, but good stuff. Let's move on because we can just go back and forth forever here. Now, these last two fights, man, I want to have like more conversations about it. You know, we've been kind of alternating who's going first, who's going last. Kevin Holland versus JDM, Jack Three Names, Jack Della Maddalena, whatever you want to call him. This is a great fight. I have a feeling that you're going to pick JDM, and if I'm right, I wanna ask why you lean towards him. I just feel like you are going to pick him, but I could be wrong. Where are you at with this?
I've fully haven't made a pick. I do have a bet, and you're going to be surprised. It's on Kevin Holland by submission.
I like it. Okay.
Plus 700 on that, by the way, which is crazy. Why? Why would it be that? Kevin Holland's never been knocked out. He's
One
been
time.
sub before.
One
One
time he's been.
time? Okay, I might have seen that. Yeah. Very early in his career, and it was like, no, no, isn't it? But that KO isn't that the retirement against Wonderboy?
No, before that. Let me double check.
Okay, okay, because I did see that it said one knockout, but I couldn't find it anywhere on his record, and then I
It's a
saw.
ways back.
Okay, fair enough. Because I do remember, like, he did retire in round four against Wonderboy with a broken hand. Um, but yeah, that was something that stood out to me. It was not like very rarely being knocked out. If you're saying it's one time, then it's one time way back. But I actually thought he'd never been knocked out. Um, Jack really likes to stand in the pocket and trade. That's where a lot of his good work comes from. I feel like Holland is willing to get into some pocket exchanges, but I feel like he gets the better of them because of his angles. Um, I tried to look at opponents that Holland had had with a similar sort of pocket fighting style. I sort of thought about maybe Buckley.
Yeah.
And so I looked at a little bit of that, and he knocked Buckley out because he was catching him. He was catching him when he was making mistakes. Um, people have asked Holland about this fight, about the same stuff with Wonder Boy. Will this be a stand-up fight? Will this be a mixed martial arts fight? And Holland sort of implied that it'll be a bit of everything, and that if there's holes, he'll take advantage of them.
Right.
I, I'm super excited for this fight. As I
Yeah,
said,
dude.
I can't. Well, I still haven't. I have Kevin Holland sub round two locked into my topology at the moment, but I'm so unsure. I don't even want this fight to happen because I didn't want either of them to lose to each other. Um, yeah, like when I saw it, I shared it and I was like, why does this fight have to happen? Now I have to choose one. Like this is bullshit. I don't want. either of them to lose. A loss for Jack is a lot worse than a loss for Kevin, though. Kevin doesn't give a fuck if he loses.
Right.
He makes a shit ton of money, and then he'll get a cool fight again in 3 months' time.
Yeah.
Man, Jack cares if he loses because he's trying to get that upward trajectory. So,
So why is he
but yeah, man,
fighting like 2-3 weeks after he fought in JDM?
I think he's just trying to, capitalize on,
Or cleanse the
the.
palate of after that Basel performance, right? I mean, maybe.
I mean, potentially, but I think it's just, like, unless you have a super big social following, the only other way to kind of build up your brand within the UFC is to fight a bunch and get your name in front of people, and
Right.
potentially that's what Jack might be trying to do. He's just trying to work his way up that ladder quick.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, I would agree with you. He's been stacking them close together. His last fight was a double weight cut, I think. He
Triple, I
felt like,
think. I think it was
yeah,
triple.
and so these are kind of silly decisions. Feel like it's a decision that almost that contributed to the end of Tony Ferguson's career. Double weight cut in a Justin Gaethje fight and get your head pounded in. So these aren't smart decisions. And I don't want Jack to lose, but just if I look at this with a proper like fight analyst hat, Holland, it just certain things out. Um,
Yeah.
Angles in the pocket, the takedown and the subs, like really, like people have tried to take. Basil took down Jack and tried certain submissions and they didn't work. Holland is tricky. He's lanky. He subbed, his last fight where he subbed Chiesa, he just wrapped that Darce. He wasn't going for that Darce the whole fight. He was trying to knock Chiesa out and then just happened to have the perfect position to get the Darce. And he's like, oh, well, fuck it. I'll just finish it like this. And wraps up the Darce and gets it. And
Yeah,
that's the
dude.
way Holland fights. He got the verbal submission from Charlie Ontiveros a few years back, where he just slammed him on his head and slammed him into a choke on his head, and then old mate, like, the ref stopped it because old mate was gargling,
Yeah.
like, and they thought he broke his neck. Like, yeah, man, I just see so many ways for Holland to win, and I feel like this isn't well, I feel like he did say he wants to fight Jack because he thinks it's a cool fight, but I don't see it as, the fight with Wonder Boy was egotistical. He wanted to stand, he wanted to have that war and all the rest of it, and he ultimately ended up losing it. I don't feel like that's his take on this one. His take is, I want to beat this guy, and any way he
Yeah.
can, he will.
In the press conference, he said that JDM didn't earn that. Like he didn't earn the respect of having
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
stand-up fight.
I heard that.
And to your point, I can't find the knockout. Someone that I trusted was saying that he had gotten knocked out, but maybe it was just the round 4 retirement because that's all that you
Yeah,
have that you can see on Tapology. So maybe he hasn't ever been fucking knocked out, which is wild.
yeah,
Fighting,
that's what I really think.
34
Yeah,
fights.
it's
So yeah,
crazy.
dude. Yeah, it's very interesting. And yeah, dude, a lot of casuals are on Kevin Holland and a lot of like the smart money's on Jack Della Maddalena. That doesn't matter to me, man. I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland as well.
I've
But
seen Narco Cop has 4 units on Jack. Was looking at his MMA handicapper site
well,
last
he's
night,
not
and I was
smart
like,
money at all, dude. If you see his fucking contender picks, he goes for wild card shit. You know what I mean? His contender picks suck ass.
yeah. I mean, I saw that, and I was like, I actually hit him up on Twitter. I was like, what are you seeing in this fight? Tell me what you're seeing to
Yeah.
have that much confidence. Like,
Because
and I'm
people
an
are on the
Aussie.
hype train, man.
I'm a fucking Aussie. Like, and I fucking love JDM. But I was like, I need to know what you're seeing to be putting 4 fucking units on this guy.
Yeah, I think and again, check out that striking that strikes absorbed 42. No, it's 2.9. So again, so a couple errors there. He's not absorbing 42 strikes a minute. But yeah, it's he's got a good striking differential there, the 4.11 to 2.96. It's There's nothing that stands out for JDM. His opponents, he hasn't fought good opponents, man. Who's the best fighter that JDM's fought in the
Basil
UFC?
Hafez.
Yeah. I mean, and he beat him.
But Basil's good.
Yeah, I mean,
Basil is
absolutely,
good.
he's good. It was short notice. He wasn't prepared for a wrestler and all that good stuff. And I don't understand why they matched him up with like that. But I'm a big believer in karma, man. I think that's what happened with Jack Jenkins last weekend. I think that happens with JDM. So much so that I am putting an extra unit on Holland. That's going to be my last unit of the night. And yeah, dude, I think that Holland can do this many ways. I think if it goes to decision, I think Madalena might get it again, which would be such bullshit. If it was close. But yeah, man, I think Kevin Holland gets this, man, for sure. He's taller, he's tricky, like you said. That kung fu that he fucks with is as I think more well rounded than Jack's boxing. He's more of just a straight boxer, right? So, I haven't
Have
seen
I
him throw
got
many kicks.
Yeah, no, he is pretty much a straight boxer. But have I got 2 extra units left?
You have 2 extra units, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be going with you, and I'll be putting one on Kevin Holland as well.
All right,
Yeah,
here we go.
I was actually going to
Use it on the next one, huh?
pick. Well, I was actually going to pick Jack and then put an extra unit on Kevin. That was going to be my original thing, so that I could play both sides. But I'll stick with what I got for now. I
Yeah, man.
still could go the extra unit on Jack and have my pick as Kevin, but no, we'll keep it simple for now. Because like I said, I didn't. This is a hard fight for me. I like both guys. Don't want either of them. Didn't even like. It's a fucking awesome fight, but I didn't want them to have to fight each other and one of them have to beat the other.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm looking at this right now. I hate that this slide is up for so long with that fucked up striking differential, but you know, it is what it is. Um, when people come back from like a quick turnaround like this, it does not work out. Look at Blackshear, obviously much quicker. Look at Gilbert Burns. I mean, that was like your lock, remember? And I was with you. I wasn't as confident as you were, Gilbert Burns against Bilal Muhammad. But we were both like, yeah, dude, like I think for sure. I remember specifically with that, I asked you, what's one fight that if you were like if you had a free $1 million, what would you put it on? You
Mm.
said Burns. And I forget what I said, but I just remember that because yeah, obviously it didn't hit, but I was right there with you, dude. I was like, shit, like Burns should absolutely get this done. He's the better fighter. He's more well rounded. Supposedly he hurt himself, but that's what happens when you're cutting weight over and over again. And when you're trying to get in this, you know, it's a rough sport to begin with. And then when you're putting your body through extra shit, I don't get why JDM would do this, man. He doesn't need to do it. They were supposed to fight in Australia, I guess. Holland denies that, but you know, it's hard to know because you can't really take Holland too serious. And one thing that was really kind of weird to hear from Holland is that once someone has the belt or they're on a trajectory to get the belt, they're off his radar, off Kevin Holland's radar. It was a weird thing that he said at the press conference or the media day. And you
And then
know,
he had a
JDM
go
is
at
the
the guy.
what?
Then he went off at the reporter about it, about asking about it.
Yeah, he's like, why is the belt so important to you? And it's like, you know, I thought that was kind of a dick move and it didn't make any fucking sense, honestly. That's why, like, I like Kevin Holland, but some of the shit that he says, I think that he's just trying to be either funny or he's got a weird personality, man. But like, he talks about money and shit, but then he doesn't want the belt. It's like, dude, you just know that you can't get there, is really what it is. And with JDM, you know, he's the opposite. He wants the belt, he wants to be a champion. So that's the one thing that's really, really putting me off of Kevin Holland. He showed some horrible fight IQ in that fucking Wonder Boy fight. I hope that's a one off because, like I said, I've got an extra unit on him here. This is, of course, hypothetical money, but I will be putting him in a parlay later with real money. So, yeah, man, give me Kevin Holland. He's got the longer fight time, but he's fought the much better competition. And I think he gets this done any way he wants. But for the sake of this, I'll go decision.
Okay, yeah, I'm locking in my sub. Like I said, I already got a little bet on that one.
There you go. I found the most attractive picture I could of Alexa
I
Grasso because I think she is so hot.
I noticed that. I did notice that straight off the bat, and it looks like you did for Valentina as well.
Yeah. There, I mean, dude, I just love Grasso, man. She's one of the most just attractive women, and so is Valentina when she goes all out. But Grasso, these Latinas, they just have a way. But it's interesting that the average fight time for Valentina is over 15 minutes because she's fought so many fucking times 25 minutes. Um, this is a good fight, man. This is a really good main event for a girl fight. And you got Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Alexa Grasso taking the belt from Shevchenko. Um, crazy odds. I mean, this was a bigger mismatch odds wise than Strickland and Adesanya. And
And I know someone that had her by sub as well.
nice. Yeah, well, there was that
Yeah.
one dude that had the fucking crazy parlay because this was the John Jones night
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's right. Fucking hell.
He put like $1 down to get like 600,000 or some shit like that because he called like the
The round of her sub.
method round for 5 fights. And he including Grasso by fourth round submission and all this stuff. John Jones round one submission, all this stuff. So it was like, yeah, it was $1 and like 600,000 or something like that. Just nuts, or $3 maybe. But yeah, man, this is a good fight. I think a lot of people are looking at this and overcomplicating it though. What are your thoughts on this?
Um, I watched the first fight the other night, and I feel like Valentina was competitive in the first 2 rounds, and then I felt like Alexa was starting to like pick it up and kind of win. I mean, I might be wrong. There might be people out there that disagree with me, but I felt like she was actually starting to come into her own before she even got the sub. And then she got the sub and won, obviously. I have her by decision. I am picking the underdog. I'm picking Alexa Grasso to stay the
Okay.
champion and get it done by decision. And I think it's just going to come down to good game planning. Um, I think Valentina's going to try and be very aggressive and try and get it over very quick, first three. And that's a possibility. She's proven herself over the years, but I also feel like she's on a bit of a downslope at the moment.
Yeah.
Before even the first fight, Talia Santos. Um, and then this fight, she got choked out and she was speaking after the fight, kind of very obnoxiously, like not really sort of acknowledging the mistakes that she made or anything.
She's
And yeah,
always
just
kind of hard to listen to.
yeah, but it just mainly after the first fight of this one, it made me like realize more like, yeah, I don't know. It's like she couldn't conceptualize the fact that she pretty much close, like very close to loss against Talia Santos
Yeah.
and then lost that fight by sub. But she was talking like she blew Santos out the water and blew Grasso out the water until 1 second where she got subbed and it was all over. Like that's how she was speaking. And it was like, come on, that's not what the case is. And yeah, so I don't know, man. I just feel like Grasso's team has kept her humble. She's got that Diego Lopez dude training her up on the jiu-jitsu. She's young,
Loopy's working with
hungry.
her too.
Yeah, there you go. She's way hungrier. Like you can't deny that. Like of course Valentina wants to get her belt back and be the queen, but she's been the queen the whole time. And now Grasso's from Mexico got this belt. Like, yeah, I think she's might lose one, she might lose two, and then she might beat her 3, 4, 5. Um, yeah, I think Grasso gets it by decision.
Yeah, I think Shevchenko has to get this by finish if she wants to win because that crowd is going to be nuts for Grasso. Now the judges aren't going to be Mexican, I don't think, but and hopefully not. Hopefully they actually go out of their way to not have Mexican judges on this card, but unless it's for the Zellhuber fight, the Loopy fight, the Kopilov fight, which neither one's Mexican, I guess, or the Campbell fight, right? But yeah, dude, I have to disagree with you here, man. I'm gonna go with Valentina. I think again the karma thing. I think that she lost to Talia Santos, but obviously ended up getting that decision and then she goes out there and loses legitimately to Alexa Grasso. But I think that she was getting cocky And if you kind of look at like how this chick works, dude, she's a machine, man. I know she's 35. She's getting up there, especially in women's MMA in this lighter weight class, 125, right? Um, I just I there's this whole narrative where these champions don't get their belts back after immediate rematches, and they're pounding this in your head that just never happens, right? And it happened with Amanda Nunes. I do think women's MMA is much different than men. And let's be real here, dude. If Grasso didn't get that sub, she wasn't going to win that fight unless she, got a fluky thing. And that's easy to say. You know what I mean? You could say, yeah, if your fucking aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle too. You can say whatever you want about all these things, but just the way that it happened, I do think that Valentina was dominating. I actually think that Grasso won round one, and then round 2, 3, and 4 were all going to Shevchenko. But she just did, for some fucking reason, a spinning back fist when she was dominating in the wrestling.
Spinning back kick.
Oh, it was a kick. You're right. Spinning back kick gets her back taken, and then obviously that's a wrap. I think if she just sticks to wrestling, I think if she dominates
by a crank too, not even a choke.
Yeah, I mean, she's strong, dude. Alexa Grasso is very strong and very attractive, like I said. And it'd be nice. It'd be nice if she could kind of do this because that the UFC wants a Mexican champion. There is also that narrative that Valentina can go up to 135 and make that very interesting there. Because the 135 fighters suck ass. I mean, there's no one who's fun there. Juliana Pena is trash. That's like the most entertaining fighter at 135. Maybe, I mean, Holly Holm. No one gives a shit about her. People are talking about how Ronda wants to come back. Like they're trying to make that 135 division relevant, and it would make sense if Valentina moved up there. But I don't know, man. Something's just telling me like this is different than all the other ones where Kamaru Usman loses his belt, immediate rematch, loses it. Izzy obviously did it, but then lost right away after that. I think Valentina gets it, man. I think that it's a strange kind of situation when you have something like this, but it's weird, dude. It's weird when the champion is the underdog when she like legitimately finished, like she finished Valentina. So it's weird that she's the underdog. I think that they're kind of trying to bait people in. They have this belt, you know what I mean? Like this whole dog and pony show that they're doing. I think that these main events, if anything is rigged in the UFC, it's these main events where they're actually telling them like, hey, go out there and do this. If that's the case, it's
Never.
these big high profile main events.
Not fighters. Not these fighters.
Dude, did you see the thing with Aaron Rodgers? And the people were like someone's Twitter account got banned because 2 hours before the game, they said Aaron Rodgers is going to go out and tear his Achilles tendon in 2.5 hours on MetLife Stadium, and he did. down to the fucking minute, and this dude's Twitter account got banned. This shit's scripted sometimes, man. I'm not saying all of it is. I'm
I
not
need you
saying
to send me some info on that after this because that sounds like something I want to look into.
it's wild. It's absolutely nuts. Yeah, I can send you some stuff on it. Because I had Aaron Rodgers running for 3.5 yards. He had to run over 3.5 yards. If I touch the football every time in a professional football game, I can get 4 yards. You know what I mean? And I'm not an overly athletic dude. Okay. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers blows it out. It was on September 11th in New York. I mean, come on, there's a lot of shit there. So yeah, it was a really weird thing. Sports can absolutely be rigged, especially when there's a lot of energy on the line. There's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of like investment from all sides. I think that the narrative is that Grasso is the better moneymaker for Mexico and all this stuff and like the whole Mexican fan base. But yeah, dude, I think something's up here. Something just feels weird. This narrative that champions don't ever get it back and the age gap and all this stuff. I think this is where it's different. So I'm going Valentina. I could be totally wrong, and everything that I say just sounds like a crazy motherfucker rambling. Which literally there's a 50-50 shot of that. The odds even reflect that. So, but yeah, man, I'm going Valentina, dude. I think she's the greatest female fighter of all time by far.
I mean, so I will start by saying I will put my last extra unit on Alexa.
Okay.
Secondly, I've always been a massive Valentina fan. Still am a fan of her. But as I said before, I'm just not a fan of the way she's been talking lately. It makes me like feel like maybe she's gotten a bit too big for her britches, whatever the fuck that saying is.
Or
And
Bridges.
yeah, I mean both can work, right? But yeah, she just worries me a little bit, and I just think Grosso's so much hungrier. I think she just wants it so much more for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, the reasons Valentina would want it is to just the whole champ thing. You lose your championship, you want to take it back. You know that whole thing. Whereas Grosso's is like, I've just got this. There's no way I want to lose this. I always feel like you're not a champ until you defend it either. And I know a lot of fighters subscribe to that too. Um, yeah, I just think the hunger is gonna rule out in this one. But I mean, Valentina is a fucking beast. So,
Yeah, no, I agree, dude. I think that Grasso is hungry. She wants it. I think that, it's a new
and
thing, and
you're
she's
right
been
about the
treated.
money too.
Oh
It's
yeah.
absolute. That's what the UFC would want. I feel like they would want Grasso. Like even though Valentina's like the OG and shit, the money's with Grasso.
Well, the money was with Adesanya too, man. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it doesn't all work. I honestly do think that like they kind of like the script was kind of like not followed with this Australia fight. You know what I mean? With Izzy and Sean Strickland. I think that that's where it fucked up. The odds of it happening, in my opinion, twice in a row are not likely. But I'm gonna go with like I said, Chevy here. The Chevy. I guess she goes by Bullet, but still Chevy sounds better. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be an interesting card. Great stuff. I'm gonna make some like I said, some Mexican food. And the graphics will have more next time and they'll be more accurate as well. Couple fuck ups on there, but that's all on me. So it happens. You guys get the idea. I point them out and I correct them here. So hopefully you're not just listening. Or hopefully you're not just watching with no volume. You shouldn't do that anyway. But yeah, man, we got a lot here. And I hope that your first leg of your ladder hits. I hope that my second leg of my Eiffel Tower hits. We don't have any contradicting bets in those. I will have a small parlay contradicting one of yours, but not going to put much on there.
I
With
even
the
thought about potentially because my ladder bet will finish a couple of fights before the end of the card, even maybe chucking a second ladder with the in the same card.
Why
But
not?
we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I already sussed one out that's fairly reasonable. I think it was Zellhuber round to start round two, Valentina to start round two, and then I think it might have been I don't know one of like maybe Kopolov or something like that thrown in there, and that was nearly a very slightly plus money parlay. So we'll see what happens.
I'm looking at something with Cortez, Lacerda, Kopilov, Padilla, and Holland all together. That'll be a pretty substantial one there if I end up pulling the trigger on that. But we'll see, man. I mentioned my Eiffel Tower already. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here? I had to get going. It's fucking midnight here, basically. So
Yeah, no, all good, man. Good luck to everyone. Hope
yeah,
you enjoyed the pod, and yeah, look forward to a few of these fights. Some of them are blah, but some of them are like the Holland fights should be fucking crazy. So we'll see what
it's
happens.
we said the same thing last week, but we also said we're going to have action on every single one because that's how we do it for some reason. We have a problem. So,
Yeah,
yeah, guys, bet responsibly. Hopefully, you guys all win and hit us up. We'll be here. So, thanks, guys, and take care.
peace.